If you are 0-4 in fantasy football, you clicked on the right video because I've been there. I've had the bad injury luck, the bad drafting luck, the bad touchdown luck before and started 0-4. But I've come back. In some of those leagues, I've even won the championship. So today, I'm going to give you all the strategies that I use when I start out 0-4 that help me get back into the playoffs. From the trading strategy you should be using, the look ahead waiver strategy, and how to maximize the potential of your bench. We're going to start out with your actual chances to make the playoffs, which are actually better than you might think. But before we do, hit that subscribe button, guys, because I'm making videos like this for you to help you win your league. Plus, I'm answering every single comment in the comment section. So you're going to see when I'm posting my defenses, my kickers, my waiver ads, my trades every single week, which help you win a championship. Starting off with your actual chances, again, they're better than you might think. If you are 4-0 right now, you have an 88% chance to make playoffs. That's actually incredibly high, higher than I might have thought. 3-1, 74%, 2-2, 53%, 1-3, 31%, and 0-4, 15%. So that's about 1-6, 1-7% chance to make playoffs. But just think about how many people start off 0-4 and completely give up. The fact that you're here, the fact that you're watching this video trying to get better, that's going to increase your chances quite a bit. I think almost to the 1-3 level, especially if you use the strategies we're about to talk about. We're going to start with the trade strategy you should be using. I've got an actual team that is 0-4 in one of my leagues. I'm going to show you exactly the trades that they should be making and the kind of trades you should be making for your team. First, we're going to evaluate the starting lineup. He's got Jared Goff at quarterback. He's got Blake Corum as one of his starting players. That's the area we're going to try to address with the trade. He's got Ashton Jeanty, could be a good trade piece after a huge week. A.J. Brown, who's been letting him down, but not a lot of trade value. Quentin Johnson, another great trade piece, great draft pick as well. Zach Ertz, Chris Godwin, Giants, Cam Little. So not too bad there. Then the bench is pretty weak as well. He's dealt with an Aaron Jones injury and a Joe Burrow injury. This team's been very unlucky with the players that have been injured and some of the performance from some of the players he drafted, like A.J. Brown. But he does have two really good players. That's what we want to look for. Look for your best players, and the goal is try to improve that starting lineup and improve your starting consistency. I'm going to hit propose trade to my team because I have a lot of players that could be a good fit for this team. So the first thing we're going to do, the player that I need, my wide receivers need a little bit of help, so I'm going to trade Quentin Johnston to my team. And obviously, this is the mock-up trade of the kind of trade that he should be looking for and sending. So to do that, you want to find the teams that are 3-1 like I am in this league, 4-0. Those are the teams that are probably going to have the best rosters and the most depth to trade with you. What he's looking for is to improve Blake Corum in that starting lineup. So he may trade for a player like Ricky Pearsall, a player with good potential that's dealing with a little bit of an injury. That's going to decrease his current trade value for my team. And maybe someone like J.K. Dobbins, start high, always start high, but maybe then settle for someone like Jordan Mason. That would improve his starting lineup. Jordan Mason over Blake Corum. You're going to get way more touches from Jordan Mason. Even with Aaron Jones eventually coming back, Jordan Mason, I still think, is a much more valuable player than Blake Corum. And then Ricky Pearsall in for Quentin Johnston. In a lot of weeks, Quentin Johnston will be better, but there'll also probably be some weeks where Ricky Pearsall is better. My starting lineup gets better. His starting lineup gets better. This is the type of trade you want to be sending and the type of trades that 3-1 and 4-0 teams can't afford. He could also do the same thing with Ashton Jeanty, trying to sell high, but he would need to get 2 running backs in return because we still need to replace Blake Corum. So if the trade here, it was something like J.K. Dobbins and Jordan Mason for Ashton Jeanty. That would give me in theory, I don't know if I believe in Ashton Jeanty for the whole season, but in theory, I get the best running back of the trade. Most weeks where I don't have players on bye, I can throw Josh Jacobs in my starting lineup. So I've got Josh Jacobs and Ashton Jeanty instead of J.K. Dobbins, Jordan Mason. That seems pretty good for my team if you do like Ashton Jeanty. And it's great for his team as well to replace Blake Corum with J.K. Dobbins and Ashton Jeanty with Jordan Mason. Yeah, slight downgrade there, but overall, it's going to improve his points. Next, we're going to talk about the bench strategy that you should be using. We have 2 kind of different bench strategies we're going to talk about, but the first is only looking for players with startable upside. We go through his bench, and I actually think he's done a great job here getting Michael Carter. Because if you didn't know, one bonus is Trey Benson may be struggling with an injury, and they may go to Michael Carter to lead the Arizona Cardinals backfield. That actually could be a great waiver add for him because Michael Carter could be a decent starter, and if he starts, a lot better than Blake Corum. That's the exact kind of waiver ads you want to make. Now, a player he might be able to drop is someone like Cooper Kupp. He almost never, even if there was an injury to JSN, maybe wouldn't ever become a good starter. You may want to drop him in order to add someone like Michael Carter, like Kendre Miller, like someone that could potentially break out, become a good asset for your team. Another player he could drop, Jalen Tolbert. Even with this CeeDee Lamb injury, he's still not a reliable fantasy starter. If you're 0-4, there's absolutely no reason to hold that kind of player on your team because he's never really going to make an impact. I'd much rather add like a running back handcuff, where if there's an injury to a certain player, they become an instant starter. That's the kind of players you need to roster if you're 0. The last piece of advice I'd have for this player is to drop Joe Burrow. If he's 4-0, you may hold on to Joe Burrow, maybe hope he comes back at the end of the season. But with how bad the Bengals look, I think that's extremely unlikely. He's actually taking up an extra roster spot when he could put Aaron Jones into that IR spot, someone we know is coming back this season. If you are 0-4, you have Joe Burrow or someone that's not coming back in your IR, make sure you drop them to open up that bench spot. And like we said, we want to open up that bench spot for players like the Packers defense. I know they're on bye this week, but they're still an amazing ad if you're 0-4, because we're going to drop some of those players who are unlikely to make an impact to house a look-ahead defense. So that's one of the strategies that I like to use when I'm 0-4 to always make sure I have one of the top defenses of the week. We look here, the Packers are on a bye week 5. So in your league right now, the Packers may be on the waiver wire because obviously they're not playing and not a lot of people want to roster 2 defenses. But next week, they play the Bengals. Amazing matchup. The defense of the week. The defense everyone's going to be telling you to add will be the Packers. Then they play the Cardinals, another great matchup. Then they play Pittsburgh, another great matchup. Then they play Carolina, another great matchup. If you do hold the Packers for 1 week while they're on bye for a player that's really not going to make an impact, like a Jalen Tolbert, you get Cincinnati, Arizona, Pittsburgh, and Carolina. 4 amazing matchups in a row where you're going to have one of the best defenses of the week. Then as they play Philadelphia, you may pick up another defense to hold them for that week, but you hold on to the Packers because then they play the Giants, they play the Vikings. You got to hold that other defense because they play Detroit. Then you have them back for Chicago. Then you play another defense for Denver. Then you have them back for Chicago in the fantasy football playoffs. That kind of strategy when you're 0-4 to always make sure you have an amazing defense by looking ahead is one that can get you an advantage. You also want to add players that have amazing upside. Like I added Isaiah Bond this week. His snap share has been increasing every single week. And if you guys have the Walter Picks app, that's one of the advantages of having that app. I work on the projections team at Walter Picks. The Walter Picks app has the snap percentage, and Isaiah Bond has been increasing every single week. That's the kind of players you want to add from the waiver wire because no one else is looking at them because they haven't produced yet. But the more you're on the field, sooner or later, those chances will be there. Plus, Cedric Tillman went down with a hamstring injury. So Isaiah Bond could be the downfield threat for the Browns. And he was free. I added him after waivers ran. The player I want, I didn't get. And I went and looked today. I added Isaiah Bond. Another player that I added today was Brashard Smith. He's increasing his receiving role for the Chiefs. We saw Jerick McKinnon absolutely win leagues with that receiving role a few years ago. That's the kind of player you need to have if you are 0-4. Now, I added them because I want the upside, and I had some players on my bench that really weren't looking that good, like Dylan Sampson. Brashard Smith is increasing every week. That's the players you need to have if you are 0-4, the players that eventually could become someone you put in your starting lineup. These strategies have worked for me, so I know they'll work for you as well. Drop any questions you have down in the comments and hit that subscribe, and let's win a fantasy football championship this year.